welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we're going to be jumping into Chapter 9 of Twilight, which is called Theory.
Yes. So in summary, hopefully you've watched our other episodes. Jess has never read or actually really watched Twilight. So first time for her. I read them when they first came out when I was a kid. So not first time. But as of right now, where did we leave off?
So we left off, it'll be a week for you guys, but it'll be more than a week for us. So we left off in their fun adventure in Port Angeles.
That's right.
The dress shopping, the creepy guys. And then we left off with Edward and Bella leaving the restaurant.
After they had a conversation where Edward's like, I can read minds.
Mm-hmm.
And is that
hypothetical?
Hypothetical. But he doesn't admit to what he is.
No, he doesn't.
But he does admit that he can't read Bella's mind.
Correct. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, of course.
It's very important. It's all hypothetical, Connie, because they're talking about someone named Joe.
Ah, yes, that's right. So we left off at the restaurant. Did we get to already back in Forks? Or okay.
Nope. So chapter 9 starts with Edward driving Bella home. So they're in their car on the way back now. All right. So let's just hop right in.
Yeah, let's go.
Bella asks Edward if she can just ask one more question. He agrees to one. Bella asks how he knew that she didn't go into the bookstore and that she went south. Eventually, Edward admits that he followed her scent. Bella replies that he never answered one of her first questions that she had asked him, which was, how does the mind reading work? Can he read anyone's mind anywhere? How can he do it? And can the rest of his family do the same? Edward points out that's more than one question. Bella sits and doesn't acknowledge him until he responds. Good. Stand your ground. Make him answer you. Finally, he says it's just him, which I feel like is a lie.
He's the only one that can read minds of this way.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Weird, but okay.
Yeah, he's very much, what is it called when you don't necessarily tell the truth, but you're not telling the whole truth? He's being very, to the line.
Gotcha.
It's very much like the equivalent of, when your sibling has their finger just like an inch from your shoulder. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Technically, I'm not touching you. It's that.
Cool. Why am I not surprised?
Shocker. Eddie boy, not fully honest.
Yeah. So he can't hear anyone anywhere. He has to be nearby. But the more familiar someone's voice is, the farther away he can hear them, but no more than a few miles. Edward further explains it's like being in a mall full of people and everyone is talking all at once. It's a buzz of voices in the background until he focuses on one voice, and then what they're thinking becomes clear. He says most of the time he can tune it all out because it can be distracting. And then it's easier to seem normal. Well, at least that is until he accidentally answers someone's thoughts instead of their words.
Which he's done to her a couple of times. No, not her, to, who'd-you-ma-call-it? Somebody else. Was it Mike?
Who'd-you-ma-call-it?
I thought there was a scene where Mike, I thought it was when he was being,
Jessica, maybe?
Maybe it's Jessica. I thought it was one of those where he was, saving Bella when she was feeling faint after the biology class with the whole
maybe
blood
it
thing.
was Mike. I don't know.
I thought there was something where Bella caught it in an earlier chapter where she's like, interesting.
I might have to go rewatch our episodes.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I thought it was there. Maybe I could be mixing around and I could be remembering a scene from Midnight Sun.
Gotcha.
I could be doing that too.
Gotcha. Yes. Bella asks why he thinks he can't hear her. He replies that he doesn't know, but his only guess is that her mind doesn't work the same way the rest of theirs do. It's like her thoughts are on AM radio and he can only hear those on FM. Bella is now upset and says, "So my mind doesn't work right? I'm a freak." Edward laughs and says that he's the one hearing voices in his head, and yet she's worried that she is the freak.
Okay, they put that as part of the restaurant scene in the movie.
Yeah.
But also, Eddie boy, you do not tell a 17-year-old girl your brain doesn't work like everyone else's. Like, if I was, as a 17-year-old girl, I would take that as, oh, something's wrong. I would take that wrong as a 27-year-old.
I've been told that when I was a teenager, so yeah.
Assholes.
Pretty much. Your brain doesn't work normally. Thanks. Yeah. Don't do that. Be nice.
Be nice.
Be nice. We like to spread positivity.
Yeah, and if you can't be nice, shut up.
At least in our Twilight episodes, we like to spread the positivity. For the other ones, I can't. Not all of them.
We are spreading positive. What is the phrase I'm looking for? Acknowledgement of red flags.
Yeah.
I.e. hating on Edward. But
yes.
It's positive awareness of red flags.
Yeah.
There we. Why could I not remember freaking awareness?
It's been a long day in front of these lights.
It has been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all can't see it, but there are the lights here are their own characters. They're quite bright and a little draining.
Yep.
But they make it look so we're not corpses on camera, so we appreciate the light.
Helps a lot.
Yeah, the earlier episodes you can tell.
Oof. It's a little rough. That's okay.
Yeah.
We figured it out eventually.
We did. I just had to look like a corpse and daddy issues and stabby issues.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
Yeah, but I also had like half a swollen face from my eye, so yeah. Side note, anyway, but back to Edward.
Anywho, yep. So Bella all of a sudden notices that Edward is going 100 miles an hour. Edward rolls his eyes at her and tells her to relax. This is how he always drives, and he has never been in an accident or gotten a ticket because he has a built-in radar detector. I don't care, Mr. I am immortal. She is not. And accidents will occur. They will occur. They're called accidents for a reason. So maybe not risk her life.
Yeah, to the humans listening, as if there's anybody else.
Are there vampires out there that you know about, Connie?
Not that I know about, and I don't want to know about. Let me have my bubble, please. But like, there is a couple scenes in Midnight Sun. I don't think it's in Twilight as much, but Midnight Sun again, the retelling of Twilight from Edward's perspective. But to him, that's like us going 30 miles an hour because his reflexes are so much faster. So it's like, yeah, no, I'm fine. That being said, as a human, don't do that. I had an ex do that while my sister was in the car on those back roads off of 65. Yeah. Oh, I was angry when they got back because they went to go get ice cream. And he's like, yeah, no, I was slipping and sagging. And Nina's like, yeah, he was at like 85 to 100. And I'm like, you did fucking what with my little sister in the car?
Goodbye.
Oh my, yeah, he was 16. Yeah, we broke up not that long after.
Shocking.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. So Bella is furious, as she should be, and says Charlie is a cop, so she was raised to obey traffic laws. And besides, he can destroy the Volvo and he will probably just walk away. Edward agrees with a short, hard laugh and adds, but you can't. Obviously, she knows that. That's why she pointed out that you would be able to just walk away. Stop being a dick, Edward.
He knows nothing else.
Finally, Edward sighs and slows down to 80 and comments that he hates driving slow. But enough commentary on his driving. He's waiting for Bella's last theory, and he promises to not laugh. Bella isn't worried about him laughing. She's worried about him being mad. Edward asks if it was really that bad, and when Bella says yes, he says, "Go ahead," in a calm voice. Bella isn't sure where to start, so Edward suggests to start with where she got the theory from, since she hadn't come up with it on her own. Bella starts to tell him about the day at the beach, running into Jacob, and Jacob telling a legend about vampires. Edward asks if she had immediately thought of him when hearing that story, but was still remaining calm. Bella says no, he mentioned his family. Edward went quiet and was just staring at the road, and Bella was worried about protecting Jacob. She blurts out that he thought it was some silly story and didn't expect her to think anything of it. And it was really her fault because she had basically forced the story out of Jacob because Lauren brought you, Edward, up to provoke Bella. And someone else in the Quileute tribe said that your family didn't come to the reservation. She was curious and wanted to hear more, so she got Jacob alone. Bella, got Jacob alone and tricked him into telling her. Edward began to laugh, but his eyes were fierce, and he asks how she tricked him. Bella admits that she tried to flirt, and it worked better than she expected. Edward chuckles and says he would like to have seen that, and she was the one who accused him of dazzling people. Quote, "Poor Jacob Black." End quote.
I do remember that. I mean, granted, yeah, he's a 15-year-old who already has a crush on Bella, and she decides to flirt back as a 17-year-old. Oh, I can see the 15-year-old boy just like, and just, ugh.
Hard Eyes cartoon.
Hard Eyes cartoon. Yep.
Yeah.
Which, I get it, man.
Yeah.
There is a reason, and I say this with all love, 15-year-old boys make some exceptionally dumb decisions.
They do.
Yeah.
Granted, girls do too, but different kind of decisions.
Different kind. Fueled by different hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to the stories of my husband at 15 when he was dating an older girl, and then stories of my friends, guys I knew, my boyfriend. Yeah. At 15, that's the age where they are just overcome by girls. Girls are pretty. Girls are pretty. Girls are pretty. For some, boys are pretty. Boys are pretty. Or no one's pretty. I might be ace. You don't know.
Yeah.
But like it's a lot of hormones. So yeah, poor Jacob Black.
Yep, poor Jacob Black. After a few minutes of silence, Edward asks what she did next. Bella admits to doing a lot of research on the internet, and she didn't want to admit why she came to the conclusion, but says it doesn't matter what he is. Edward, in a hard, mocking tone, says, "You don't care if I'm a monster or not a human?" Bella reassures him that it doesn't, but that he's angry and she shouldn't have said anything. Bella,
that's a little domestic abusey.
It is. I have a big issue, again, from my previous partner, with people getting so angry that you're scared, like you retract yourself. And I'm seeing that in Bella right now. She's like, I shouldn't have said anything. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not setting you. I'm sorry.
Abusey thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I don't think I will ever be behind this relationship because I feel the domestic abuse starting.
Yeah. I mean, I got to reread the books. I remember it growing later, but yeah, no, the way this is starting out, you should never with your partner have to be like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Like, oh, you're angry now. Like,
if there's
never.
if there's an issue, bring it up. Bring it up for sure. And I mean, you shouldn't be scared of how your partner reacts.
Yep.
I mean, like, I might be nervous to bring something up.
Nervous is one thing. Scared is different, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's been times where my husband and I are very outspoken, confrontational people.
Mm-hmm. In the nicest, most loving way
We're
possible.
both Italian. It's
Yeah.
normal. But there's been times where we have been nervous to bring up something with the other just because we know that it's going to be a hard topic and it's
Yep.
going to hurt to receive it.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's been hard, but never at any point has either one of us been scared of the other person's reaction. Like, it's not even a thought in our mind.
Yeah. There are, you know, some things from my previous relationship that have spilled over. So sometimes when I bring things up, I do still feel like scared. But that's nothing to do with my husband. That is all to do with
The past.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys want to know more of what we are talking about, we have a whole episode on that.
You're Not Brittany, Toxic Isn't Cute.
Thank you.
I think it's like our 3rd or 4th episode. It's pretty early.
It's one of the first ones, so definitely scroll down. I say it's worth the listen, just to get some good information on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is good information. And actually, now that I'm remembering the 7 guidelines of an abusive or
10.
toxic relation, 10, there we go. I do recall there being an article about Edward and Bella's relationship, especially in Twilight, the first book.
Mm-hmm.
It fits every single category.
Yeah, it's not good. I've seen a lot so far, and it's not good.
No.
So I will never be behind this relationship. I'm taking it for the book. So every chapter I go in and I try my best. You're
doing really good. You haven't burned the book.
I try to come in with like a more open mindset of like, all right, last chapter was a different Edward. This is a new Edward.
Yep.
But you kind of have to with him.
You do. Although I will say, Breaking Dawn Edward, to my memory, completely different than Twilight Edward.
Is that the last book?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Well, of the main series, I know there's a couple other little things, but
that's what I meant. Of the 4, it's 4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So getting back to abusive Edward here. Edward says he would rather know what she's thinking, even if it is insane. Okay. Even though he did reassure her, saying that he would rather know, the fact that she's scared of his response tells you more than anything.
Yeah. Which, like, I get where Bella's coming from, because I think she's scared, part of his response, but also because she's got the major relationship issues just from everything with her parents and that relationship between her and her mother.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. So I can see how there's like some attachment, abandonment stuff going on. Not excusing the situation, but I can see how you'd get there as a 17-year-old girl.
I can see it. I can. Yeah, we could go on and on about this for hours. So we're just gonna hopefully move on. They continue to go back and forth, and finally Bella says that it doesn't matter, but she is curious about how old he is. When he says 17, she asks, "How long have you been 17?"
The iconic exchange.
Edward responds, "A while." I want to know how old he is.
I think he's been 17 for 70 years at that point. Because I had this in my brain that he's 87 in Twilight. I believe.
And you guys listening, you can comment whatever you want on our Twilight episodes. I do not read any of the I will not read any of the comments. So no. Connie will.
I will screen. I will make sure she doesn't have too many spoilers, because there's a few out there. Don't tell her.
I just know the big thing.
He's a vampire.
Yeah. Well, and they end up together. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So when Edward responds, he's been 17 for a while. Bella is pleased with the answer and then asks how can he come out in the sun? Because that's a big thing. I mean, I'm sure. I'm just assuming here. If you guys watching are here, you have seen the Vampire Diaries, or at least have heard of the Vampire Diaries,
or any version of vampire lore ever.
Yeah, they burn up in the sun, so makes sense. Um, so Edward responds saying that it's all a myth as well as sleeping in the coffins. In fact, he actually can't sleep at all, which is weird.
That is weird. I love sleep. Sleep's our friend. That's my problem in the mornings. I love sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, with a husband and a dog in the bed, you don't always get the best type of sleep during the night with being pushed off the edge.
No, you don't. Honestly, do you know what's worse than a dog or a husband in the bed when you're trying to sleep? A cat.
Good point.
I've had him jump on my head in the middle of the night.
Oh God, that would terrify me.
Yeah, he definitely was not aiming for my head, but he landed on my head. Or you wake up and they're on your foot and your foot's asleep. Or they're on your chest and you wake up thinking that you're suffocating.
I take it back. Cat is worse. When I had my mom's dogs here and I had the little pup on my chest for sleeping, that startled me awake several times.
Yeah, it's not as cozy as one may think.
No, it's really freaking warm too.
It is. It is very, very warm.
And not in like, a good cozy way. No, it's like I am going to die of heat exhaustion unless everyone's off.
Everyone is suffocating me.
Yes. Everyone likes to pile on mom. Or the wife or whoever. The woman.
Yeah.
Which I can't even judge too much because I remember doing the same thing to my mom. And my mom would always be like, I just need space. And I'm like, but I love you.
I don't remember doing that as a kid.
Yeah, it's a very, like, I want hugs, I want attention type of kid. I'm that way as an adult.
I was not.
Yeah, my mom is not that person at all.
Yeah, I was, give me a whole bunch of stuffed animals and leave me alone, and I'll be in my room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's...
All right. Circle back. We are just tangent after tangent today. All right. After a pause of them staring into each other's eyes, Edward says she hasn't asked him the most important question yet. His diet. Oh, I'm sorry, that is a pretty important detail. Question.
Also, if this conversation was flipped around and the girl was the vampire and the guy was asking questions, he would think the most important question would be, so, you a virgin?
Yeah.
We've all been there with the teen boys.
Gosh.
Anyway, but that is a good question.
It is a good question. Yeah, I mean, she is human after all. Doesn't she want to know if he drinks blood? Bella admits that Jacob also said that Edward's family wasn't supposed to be dangerous because they only hunted animals, but the Quilliots won't let you on their land just in case that's not true. Bella gets confirmation that Jacob was right when he says that the Quilliots have a long memory. He continues that she should keep her guard up. They're right to keep their distance because they are still dangerous. He explains that they try their best and are usually good at what they do, but can sometimes make mistakes. Edward, for example, allowing himself to be alone with Bella. Bella asks if this is a mistake, and Edward responds, a very dangerous one. It's a very dangerous mistake, Bella.
Granted, being alone in the car with a guy you don't know that well who's speeding crazy, that alone is a dangerous mistake. You add on the fact that you are the entree.
Yeah. Bella asks Edward to tell her more and wants to know about why they hunt animals and not people. Edward says that he doesn't want to be a monster, but can't be sure that animals are enough. He compares it to if humans lived off of tofu and soy milk. It doesn't completely satiate the hunger or thirst, but keeps them strong enough to resist most of the time. Sometimes it can be difficult, like this very moment with Bella. If you're a vegan out there, not coming for you. Literally reading out of a book.
Yeah. Blame Edward.
Yeah, blame Edward. It's not our fault. Bella points out that he's not hungry right now, though. She noticed his eyes, and she also noticed, more so with men, that they get more crabby the hungrier they are. Edward laughs and says, "She really is observant."
She's right, by the way.
Yeah.
Human men, animal men, anyone. I mean, anyone can be cranky when they're hangry.
Bella didn't answer Edward. Instead, she was listening to the sound of his laugh and was committing it to memory. Edward confirms that he did go hunting with Emmett the past weekend. He didn't want to, but he did that so it would be easier for him to be around Bella. When Bella asks why didn't he want to go, he said that being away from her makes him anxious, and he wasn't joking when he asked her not to fall in the ocean or get run over when she went to the beach. He continues to say that it was a long 3 days. He couldn't go, not because of the sun would hurt him, but he can't go out in sunlight, or at least not where anyone can see him. Bella asks why, but he just says that he'll show her sometime. I do know the reason behind that. Or I believe I do. It's hard to have existed the past couple of years and not seen it. Yeah. Bella admits that she was quite worried about him, and it made her anxious too when she can't see him. Edward quietly groans that this is wrong because it is one thing for him to make himself miserable, but another thing for her to be so involved with him. He didn't want to hear that she felt this way because, quote, "It's wrong, it's not safe, I'm dangerous, Bella. Please grasp that," end quote. If you're so dangerous and you're so worried about her, get the away. Like, Bella says no. He says he's serious. Bella responds saying that she is too. It doesn't matter what he is, and it's too late. Edward says never say that in a harsh tone. Bella's quiet, and Edward asks what she's thinking and if she's crying. She responds with no, but her voice cracked at that time. Edward starts to reach toward her, but stopped and placed it back on the steering wheel. He then apologizes and asks her to tell him what she was thinking right before he came to save her tonight. Bella said that she was trying to remember, quote, how to incapacitate an attacker. You know, self-defense. I was going to smash his nose into his brain. End quote.
That is good self-defense, by the way. The heel of your palm into someone's nose.
In an upward motion.
And, like, you put force with that. Sorry. And you can support your elbow even with it. Incapacitated.
Yep.
And then you run.
Down for fast. The count. Yep. Go.
Because they will be mad.
Yes. That's not comfortable.
That's a good way to put that.
Yeah. Not comfortable. Edward is surprised that she was going to fight them, but Bella falls down a lot when she runs. So, fighting was the only option, really. He asks what happened to her screaming for help. Bella said that she was getting there. Edward shakes his head and said, quote, "You were right. I'm definitely fighting fate trying to keep you alive." End quote. Edward promises that he will be in school tomorrow as he arrives at Charlie's house. Bella starts to pull his jacket off and taking one last whiff of it, but he tells her to keep it since she doesn't have a jacket for tomorrow. She ends up giving Edward his jacket back, saying that she didn't want to explain Edward's jacket to Charlie, which
valid
makes sense. I remember hiding boyfriends or flings jackets or sweatshirts.
Oh God. I had so many of my long-term high school boyfriend sweatshirts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a hoodie fiend.
Same.
Yeah.
But so, guys' sweatshirts were just more comfortable.
They were. And it was also something about being in sports, you know, you have the last name on the back. Something about wearing a guy's hoodie with their name on the back was just like,
Yeah.
And now we're finally to the point that, hey, we have different last names now. Well, you have, in addition to your last name, but
Yeah, add it. Yeah, I still got to get to Social Security.
I have, that's the only thing that I've done.
And yeah, my boss just did all of her name change stuff because she got divorced. She did all of it on Tuesday, and it was a full day affair. And she had to go to the DMV, the Social Security. She had to go to the county office because she forgot a copy of one of her divorce papers, and she had to pay like $60 to get a certified copy. It was a whole day's worth.
Yeah, I should really get my ID updated before I get a job.
I gotta do that. It's on my to-do list.
It's been on my to-do list for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Anywho.
6 months. Yeah, 6 months. Yay. I mean, after 8.5 years together, you know, you just kind of another 6 months.
That's another, yeah. I feel that. Edward asks Bella to promise him to not go into the woods alone because he isn't always the most dangerous thing out there. Bella shrugged and said, "Yeah, it's questionable."
Well,
are there people out there worse than Edward? All right, we'll get to that eventually one day. Bella shrugged and said, "Whatever you say." As Bella leaves the car, Edward says her name. Quote, I turned and he was leaning towards me, his pale, glorious face just inches from mine. My heart stopped beating. Sleep well, he said. His breath blew in my face, stunning me. It was the same exquisite scent that clung to his jacket, but in a more concentrated form. I blinked, thoroughly dazed. He leaned away. I was unable to move until my brain had somewhat unscrambled itself. Then I stepped out of the car awkwardly, having to use its frame for support. I thought I heard him chuckle, but the sound was too quiet for me to be certain. He waited until I had stumbled to the front door, and then I hear his engine quietly rev. I turned to watch the silver car disappear around the corner. End quote. I just had to put that in there. That was so...
You know, at least his... Jesus. At least his breath was good, but like to me, breath is like, I don't want to have someone's breath that close to me, but I was also paranoid for the longest time because of how large my tonsils were. I felt like I always had breath. Even though I had great dental, I always had breath. No shit.
Bad breath.
Bad breath, despite having amazing freaking dental hygiene.
I know. I feel that. I need to get my tonsils out, by the way.
It is so much better when they're out.
Not just for shits and giggles, like I actually need them out.
Yeah, we both had you have big tonsils.
Yeah, it's a medical thing. It's getting to be a big medical thing. Yeah. But I don't have the money for that yet, so.
Yeah, and the healing process, I won't lie, it does suck.
I know.
They offer you pain meds, take them. Take them.
I learned that the hard way with my shoulder, so. All right. When Bella enters the house, Charlie asks if it was her because she was home earlier than he expected because it wasn't even 8 p.m. yet. Bella tells Charlie that they had a lot of fun and they both found dresses. Charlie asks if she is okay, and she just says that it was a lot of walking. He suggests that she should probably go and lay down, and Bella said that she had to call Jessica first because she forgot her jacket in the car. Charlie says that she should wait for Jessica to get home first, but when she gets in the kitchen, the phone rings.
Jessica?
Bella answers immediately. Jessica. She's wanting to make sure that Bella got home and wants to know what happened. Bella says tomorrow in Trig. Jessica caught on that her dad was nearby, and so she couldn't answer her questions. Bella made her way upstairs and took a burning hot shower because she was freezing. She stayed in the shower until the hot water ran out. She was still freezing, so she huddled up under her quilt. Her mind was running. Right before she fell asleep, 3 things became clear. Quote,
Here it is.
First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I don't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. End quote. And end of chapter 9.
Well,
yeah. Well, we learned a lot in this chapter. We learned
did.
a lot.
We are getting to the point where stuff is like legitimately progressing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as much of that build up anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to move quicker. Yeah, so maybe these will get quicker and quicker.
I think they will.
I think so. I have a feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot less side. I mean, there's still going to be sides.
Well, of course.
It's the Chaos Chronicles. But it is going to be a lot more like, okay, now things are moving and now we're going to be more invested in the plot instead of this is a flag because of this reason. There will still be that.
But we might be able to ignore some of the red flags. Just know there are many red flags when it comes to Edward.
And Bella. And
yeah. Jacob has red flags?
Yeah, not so much in this one, but later.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is 15, so.
Yeah, he
Give
does.
him a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any last things to say about chapter 9?
I'm trying to remember this chapter from the Midnight Sun because, like, the whole leaning forward and like stunning Bella with his breath. I don't even like that sentence.
I had to include that quote because I was like reading it. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that was in there because I do want to say that it was, and like he was doing it as a test for him or something. I don't remember. Either way. Nani, why? No.
I just, well.
Yeah, any thoughts from you on Eddie Boy or any of it?
I think I said my thoughts as we were talking.
That's fair. I will say, quick side note, good job, Jessica. That is a good friend. Always double check that your friends make it home, especially if you're sending them home with some guy, which we'll come back on that, but don't do that. But yeah, it's good to check in and also pick up on the keywords if they're saying like, yeah, tomorrow in Trig, aka I can't give you details right now or I'm never leaving the house again.
Yeah, she did a great job with that. Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week for chapter 10, which is interrogations. So,
yep. But before then, real quick, you can find us on all of I'm hitting the mic, all of our social medias, which are TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram. Handle for all 4 is at Chaos Chronicles Podcast. That's Chronicles with an S, and we would very much appreciate a like and subscribe or follow. See you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.